Hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes, and this is the Daily Brief. I'm just a professor trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. So here's what I see with losses of Russia and Ukraine. 1,124 soldiers off the battlefield. It's ticked back up, and there's actually quite a big push outside of Divka, well, west of Divka, as it's moving forward. There's a salient, and I'll show you that in a moment. This is the Andrew Perpetua's tabulation about 2-to-1 losses for Russia as opposed to Ukraine. Really, I'm more comfortable when I see 3-to-1 or more, but again, this is where we are. The reason that I say that is just because the amount of losses that each side can absorb or is willing to absorb. Ukraine air defense destroys 21 of 34 enemy missiles. And here's a little list of the missiles. They shot down 6 out of 9, 8 out of 9, 0 out of 2, 1 out of 2, 0 out of 4, 6 out of 8. And this isn't a complete list, but it's just showing things are getting through and they're doing damage when they get through. Zelensky put this out. This night, 34 Russian missiles targeted Ukraine. We managed to intercept a portion of them. However, the world has all the resources to assist us in intercepting every missile and drone fired by the Russian terrorists. This is completely doable. All that is required is for the necessary political decisions and agreements to be implemented. He's not wrong about that. And again, when people say, well, you should have done it yourself. Well, he thought he was safe because of the original Budapest Memorandum like years ago. And since the Russians invaded in 2014, they've been trying to get up to speed, but still, I mean, it takes a while. The Russians have the Soviet stockpile that's years and years and years, decades of this armament that they're winding down. Ukraine is grateful to the United States and all our partners for their decisions to support our country and its people. We must make every effort to ensure that life prevails. Okay, now the question is, why did this just happen recently? And I think there are a number of factors. Euromaidan Press came out with this. Zelensky's warning that Ukraine would run out of weapons by March or April was a key factor behind Speaker Johnson's decision to send military aid despite opposition from his own party, Political reports citing sources. Yeah, I think there's that. I think there was talking to particularly religious leaders, I think affected Mike Johnson quite a bit. I think the CIA director's warning affected him quite a bit. I think there were a number of factors that just, I'm not sure which straw broke the camel's back, but there were a number of different pieces of that puzzle. Okay, so what actually did the Russians hit last night? Devastating overnight Russian missile strike on a psychiatric hospital in Kharkiv. 60 patients, 5 staff members were inside during the attack. Nice. Okay, that's called a war crime, hitting a hospital. Russia also hits Ukrainian energy sites in a massive overnight attack. I'm going to read a little bit about this one. Russia launched a massive missile strike on Ukraine overnight, hitting energy facilities, damaging power plants in several regions, officials in Kyiv said on Saturday. Here's what the strike actually looked like on the backside. It's pretty terrible what they're doing, and they're just trying to destroy the electrical grid as much as humanly possible. Depriving the Ukrainians of electrical power will make it much more difficult for them to fight back when they're in an all-out assault. Okay, so the Ukrainians are also fighting back. This is how real de-escalation works. Ukraine hit the next Russian oil refinery in Krasnodar region tonight. Only reducing Russia's economic capacities can stop Russian aggression. I think there's a lot of truth in that statement. It's only when Russia is unable to continue fighting that they're going to stop fighting. Okay, let's look at another article. The Russians are rushing reinforcements into Ocheretyne Breakthrough I'm sorry if I slaughtered that name. Breakthrough. For the Ukrainians, the situation is desperate. 6 days after breaking through Ukrainian lines west of Avdiivka, Russian brigades and reinforcements are slowly widening their salient. A salient is instead of having lines that are flat, a salient creates kind of a spearhead, right? And I'll show you that in just a moment. A 5-mile deep knife wound plunging into Ukrainian territory. Its point lodged in the village of Ocheretyne. So here's the deep state map. This is a deep state map 2 weeks ago. Here's Avdiivka. It's overrun already, and they've been moving and moving. That's 2 weeks ago. This is today. Let me show you that again. This is 2 weeks ago, and that's today. So the Russians are moving, and it's hard to hold this back. Let's look at this again. The retreat, now they're trying to gradually retreat and not give up a lot of land and not, let them just swarm. The retreat, if poorly executed, would represent an opportunity for the Russians to redouble their local attacks and achieve a second, third, or fourth breakthrough that could, like a chain reaction, trigger a wider Ukrainian collapse, and they're trying to avoid that. Retreating is extremely risky, even when it's the best option, which is why disciplined armies plan for retrograde action at least as carefully as they plan for offensive action. So there's something there it's just a hard thing to do. It's worth noting that all Ukrainian brigades struggle to hold defensive positions. There's nothing special about this particular unit that's just maybe a poor unit. That's not what's going on. Under relentless bombardment, the aggressor has an advantage in the air and artillery, delivering almost continuous strikes. Remember, an aid package was just provided on Wednesday. They don't have the things that they need to have yet on the battlefield in order to prevent this. If they had the artillery at Avdiivka, they might still have been holding Avdiivka, but okay. It's apparent the Russians have, in all, more than 10,000 troops in or near the salient. Just 3,000 or so Ukrainians oppose them if the Center for Defensive Strategy or Defense Strategies estimate is correct. So it's a tough place to be. And again, 2 weeks ago and today. All right, let's keep moving. Ukraine-Russia war live. Kyiv hits airfield and oil depots in drone attack as U.S. sends Patriot missiles. So Ukraine has targeted oil refineries and a military airfield in Russian region bordering annexed Crimea, officials said, as Russia claimed air defense systems had intercepted more than 60 drones in the region. Well, intercepting those drones sometimes means that they hit an oil refinery, but okay. Ukraine's energy ministry said that 2 refineries in Krasnodar region had been hit by drones, while an intelligence source told Reuters that the military airfield, which lies in the same region, was also targeted. So let's see if we can see a view of what those look like. Here on Twitter, Ukrainian security services, the SBU, carried out strikes on the Khrushchevskaya military airfield and 2 oil refineries in Krasnodar Krai overnight. The airfield housed aircraft, radar, electronic war systems, and you see a big boom here. I'm not showing the video for YouTube purposes. Consequences of an attack by Ukrainian drones on the military airfield, and you can see it didn't go well for them. Let's see, a video appeared that reportedly shows the consequences of a drone attack at the airfield in Krasnodar region. Some sources say KAB bombs were stored there. No official information has been published. The video's authenticity cannot be confirmed, but Anton Gerashenko is very careful about what he posts. Okay, well, last thing with that, Ukrainian intelligence forces and the Ukrainian military have detected and shot down a new Russian radar station, Podlyat. The cost of such a radar station is about $5 million, so that's a good hit. And then finally, drones have changed everything on the battlefield. The Abrams tanks have been pulled back because drones can target and do some significant damage. This is a Russian response to put a cage around these vehicles, so they're completely covered with anti-drone cages now. They look ridiculous. I don't know to the degree to which they work. If you know anything about that, put that in the comments below. So they're doing this with armored vehicles, which seems absurd, but they're also doing this with oil refineries as well. So apparently what the Ukrainians are doing is having some effect and causing this to happen. All right, that's all that I have. Thank you for your time. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.